Welcome back to Closer Broke. Today we are at the Hustler Casino. Today's actually my birthday. We're getting a really late session started, and the reason is I just finished all the festivities for the birthday, and Ethan called me and said that I should join and have fun in the game. There's a seat open. You don't have to ask me twice. I'm gonna get in the mix and have a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for the constant support. Thank you so much for hitting 19,000 subscribers. It means more to me than you'll ever know. Let's hop into today's session and let's have a blast. Alrighty everyone, welcome back to the Hustler live stream after dark. As you guys can tell, there is no live stream. This will be without the cameras, without the lights, but we're still yelling action, as we're going to be playing in a pretty fun game that myself and Ethan have found ourselves in after the Max Payne Money stream has come to a close. I've got some pretty exciting poker to go over, so let's just hop right into things. In this very first hand, early position limps. Recreational player from the vlog, that is, he makes it 40 bucks. I decided to isolate here next to act to $200. It's not a good idea when the middle position, the late position, the straddler all make the call, as well as a limper. I almost forgot that one as well. We're going off to a flop that comes queen, queen 10, rainbow. Not a great flop for me. No reason I'm ever going to be betting into this pot. So with the action checked over to me, I continue checking, and surprisingly it checks all the way through. Hoping to catch a diamond here to pick up a backdoor flush draw or some kind of equity. Does not come that way, but it does give us some equity as it comes a 7 of hearts. With the action check to me at this point, I'd like to bet for equity denial. Sure, we can sometimes get looked up here by a better hand. That's not out of the realm of possibilities, but I think sometimes I could even get a bet to get folds from like better pairs. We've played a pretty bad hand in a situation where we're going to be out of position to a couple people, so can't get any worse. Why not just fire $400 into the abyss? Middle position and Ethan and the straddler all make the call. We're going 3 ways off to a turn card, or a river card, excuse me, that comes as 6 of diamonds. So once again, there's a middle position player, there's an Ethan player, and then there's me. With the action checked over to me, this is a pretty mandatory just check here, hoping that somehow this gets checked down and I, again, in a miracle, have the best hand against maybe a random backdoor flush draw that missed, or maybe a random straight draw that misses, but maybe I'm just being a little too optimistic. Either way, it gets over to Suited Superman, who's the player on the middle position. He bets $1,200. Thankfully, Ethan calls, so I have no decision here. This is a pretty easy slam dunk fold, which is what I end up doing. Middle position shows King Queen for top trips, or second nut kicker top trips, and he's going to go ahead and take that down. And luckily, we get that dumb hand out of the session early, and let's see if we can't find a way to play some better poker. Either way, like I said, buckle up. This episode's going to be quite the fun one. At this point, we've had a couple of people leaving the table after some losses. We're playing 6-handed at this point. I'm in early position, and there's an $80 straddle on. I look down at ace-9 offsuit. I decide to raise here to $200. Early position in this game is equivalent to late position, I guess, in a full ring game. But either way, I make $200 to go. The small blind decides to 3-bet here to $600. Folds back to me. This is a hand that I think we should be 4-betting or folding. But in this case, because we're not playing very optimally, I decide to just make the call. The one saving grace is that I am in position and we are playing short-handed. So in reality, should be a little wider from our 3-bettings, hopefully. You know, maybe they have king, queen, but either way, we're going off to a flop that comes 9, 8, 5, rainbow. Nice. So we flop top, pretty solid hand. Luckily for us, our opponent decides to down bet for 400. Against this specific opponent, I don't think my opponent's going to be fairly balanced here. I end up making the call, continuing with this hand. And we're going off to a turn card that comes a queen of hearts. All right, this brings a backdoor flush draw and then over to my hand. At this point, my opponent thinks about it for a moment before deciding to check. At this point, I'm ranging my opponent on a hand like king jack, ace jack, ace king, and maybe some other random wheel ace x's. If that's the case, I'm happy to take my showdown value. I don't need to protect against all that much, besides specifically king jack and maybe king 10. Otherwise, my opponent's gonna have maybe 10 to 20% equity going to this river, and I'm okay with that. We're going off to a river card that comes a 4 of spades. Pretty great card, as it's pretty much a brick to the board. I don't think my opponent has a combination of pocket fours here in a 3-bet, C-bet range, but again, who knows? With our opponent checking over for the second time in this hand, I'm almost positive that I have the best hand. The question now becomes, how much value can I get from this holding? And what size do I want to go to? I've been employing some kind of weird strategy in my game that consists of me betting fairly large with kind of like thin value almost. It's maybe not the greatest thing ever, but it seems to work out okay for me. I think people just, if they know about me, they know that I like to bluff in some spots. And by going a little thinner to penalize them for calling so weak or so light, it's kind of good for me anyways. So I ended up betting 2,000 chips, which again is a fairly large bet, looking at it as it's near the size of the pot. But in reality, I'm targeting some non-believing ace highs. I'm targeting some random middling pairs. And even sometimes my opponent can have like 10-9 suited, Jack-9 suited maybe. And yeah, we're just trying to get the max. So after a moment of thinking, my opponent decides to let it go. And our opponent would later on tell us that she had ace-king. So feel pretty good about that. I don't think, you know, besides pre-flop, which was a pretty drastic error, just calling, pretty happy with the way we played it. I think we gave our chance of making some value on the river by bluffing there, or making it look like a bluff, which it seemed like she believed it was anyways. Either way, let's move along. This next hand is a pretty small one, but one to get things going in the right direction. Either way, we looked at an ace-7 here from late to normal position. I decided to make a raise here to $120. The small blind decides to call. Nobody else does, and we're going off to a flop that comes 5-6 king rainbow. Okay, not the best flop in the world for my exact hand, but probably not that bad for my range. And the good thing is we do have some backdoor equity. With the action checked over to me, I decide to c-bet here for $160. Luckily, that's good enough to take this hand down. And like we said, the reason we only bring this hand into play is because it's going to get us directly into this next hand, which is a pretty interesting one, as we're against Ethan with pocket aces. Let's hop into it. Looking to battle back here. At this point, there's only a $40 straddle on, none of the $80 big blind or third blind straddle nonsense or whatever the heck. Anyways, we look down at the old pocket aces from under the gun. Well, haven't been playing all that well to this point, hoping to improve. It's easier to improve when you have the best hand in poker. We make it $120 to go from under the gun. The big blind on the straddle call. The straddler is Ethan, and we're going off to a flop that comes 9-6-4 with 2 spades and a club. Checks over to me. I decided to bet a little bit on the larger side to $200. I think my aces shouldn't be doing this. I think that betting half pot or a little less makes a little more sense. But the only problem I have is that I'm not holding the ace of spades. That's the reason in this instance that I decided to size up. So maybe when I have ace king no spade, I decide to size up. I bet 200. It folds to Ethan. He makes a call, and we're going off to a turn card that comes the 8 of hearts. This now does introduce a couple of options that were there for straights. 10-7 and 5-7 now get there. When the action checks over to me, I think I have nothing to do here besides play pot control. It's going to be very difficult to get 3 streets of value with our aces against an inferior holding from the straddling calling range, as you guys understand. So I end up going off to a river card after checking through 9 of spades. Okay, so this is interesting, as like I said, now the front door flush gets there, which is not great. But when Ethan decides to bet here for $200, he's going for a blocker size betting. I think the bet's amazing. He's going to get hands like myself to just call, which is going to be great. He sets his price, and it's a really cheap way to get some kind of bluff through. If he happens to have a holding, like, I don't know, some kind of random bluff, and I can fold like ace high sometimes here, that's an awesome bluff. And yeah, it's a bet that does a lot of really strong things. And in this case, it's a perfect bet because I just make the call, and he shows queen 9. So he shows top pair. But the big thing that, like I'm mentioning here, is that because he set his own price and he block bet, it allowed him to easily fold if I decided to raise. And like I said, he set his own price. Like if it checked to me, I might have bet a little bit larger than that, you know, maybe half pot or something. But yeah, tip the cap off to him. He's obviously been improving in his game a great deal. So unlucky for us that we couldn't get any more value there. But as I said, couldn't do much with that specific run out. Happy to move on. Okay, as things continue to progress, we're playing like 5-handed maybe at this point. Like I said, the game is starting to get down in the muck. Either way, the straddler is me in this instance, and the small blind decides to make it 160. I have 8-9 offsuit in the straddle. Not going to be folding any connectors here, so I make the call. We're going off to a flop that comes 9-8-5 with 2 hearts and a spade. All right, flopping top 2 pair is it's pretty great. Pretty great, to be quite fair. With the action checked over to me, I don't think I need to bet too big here, although I don't, I'm not blocking the hearts out there. That is still an opportunity out there for my opponent to have. I would suspect that he continues betting with most flush draws, so he makes a call, and we're going off to a turn card that comes a deuce of clubs. All right, not too bad. With the action checked over to me, once again here, I want to size up. It's nice to size up to charge, again, inferior holdings, random over pairs, random ace highs, pocket sevens, random holdings like that, as you guys understand. If that's the case, I feel like it's a good idea, like I said, to bet a little bit larger. I end up making $500 to go. My opponent thinks about it for a moment before deciding on the call, and we're going off to a river card that comes the 10 of spades. Okay, not the best river card in the world. Our opponent, if he happened to have some kind of random gut shot, gets there, and now we, beat one less combination of hands. So with the action checked over to me, I pretty much have a pretty easy, I think, check back. I can go for value here sometimes, but I feel like in most cases, I think just checking back is fine. Either way, let me know if you guys would have played this hand a little different. Our opponent ends up showing ace king of diamonds, so just a pure ace high. Obviously, I'm never getting more value from an inferior hand, as you guys saw there. And I feel like I put myself in a tough spot if I bet river and I get jammed on, or I get raised. So I end up just making the check back. Seems to work out all right. And yeah, feels good. Getting a couple of these wins in a row. Always feels solid. Hoping to, like I said, bring the session around, as it started off a little bit off the dang rails. And here we find ourselves in an action-packed situation where we're playing a $50 PLO bomb pot. I think we're playing 7-handed or 7 ways here. Bear with me, because again, these PLO bomb pots are quite entertaining, but also quite confusing and quite a bit to get over. I don't even know why I add these sometimes, but I promise you this one's the one that you want to see. I have ace, queen, 5 of diamonds, jack of spades. We're going off to a flop that comes ace, 10-5 with 2 spades, and ace, 7-5 with 2 spades. So we have 2 boards. We flop 2 pair on both of them. But the one thing that is pretty noticeable is the simple fact that there's a flush draw on both boards. All right. The good thing here is that I do have the jack of spades blocker. But the other thing is I have 2 pair. I don't know how to play this. I don't know if I should bet this. We're playing double board bomb pots. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I check it over to the next player, and everybody checks it around. So that seems okay. And we're going off to a turn card that comes a 10 of hearts on the top board and the jack of diamonds on the bottom board. Okay, so now we improve to an even better 2 pair, which is pretty great. But the one thing is that now our 2 pair gets counterfeited on the other board. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. The action's checked to me. I bet $70. Hillary from the button calls, and Ethan makes a call as well from the big blind. So again, don't know what I'm doing, but we're going off to a river that comes a king of spades on the top board, bringing in the front door flush draw, and it comes the queen of spades on the bottom board, again bringing the flush draw as well. So I might not know a lot about poker, or PLO, excuse me, but I do know that when you have a nut blocker, you should play it aggressively. As you guys can see, the ace of spades is accounted for, the queen of spades is accounted for, and the king of spades is accounted for. That leaves the jack of spades being the nut spade blocker. That's pretty important in this case, so I'm going to take advantage of that in this instance, or at least attempt to. The other thing is that I am holding an ace, so I block a boat on one of the boards at least. And we are holding a 5, so we block that. We got some blockers here. The only thing is that obviously King 10 is a really annoying hand that we might face, because that almost scoops on both boards. One of the boards does have a boat with it. The other board, it is the nut straight. Either way, Ethan decides to bet out $250. I think at this point is where I pretend to know what the hell I'm doing in this game of PLO. I make it 1K as a raise here. Unfortunately, we get called here from the button with a snap call, and Ethan calls as well. We end up running against the 9-3 of spades from Hillary on the button, so she has the second nut flush, which, again, granted, is kind of hard to throw that away, so no worries. She takes the bottom board, and Ethan shows King 10 here for the top board. Unfortunate as we get obviously scooped. We weren't raising for value. Our hand was not that good. We were trying to get a bluff through. Unfortunately, it doesn't. My hand gets caught in the cookie jar. Either way, I think I don't hate my bluff. Does anybody know what they're doing in double board PLO bomb pots? I don't know. Either way, we'll continue along, trekking along in the session. We've got quite a few more interesting hands, and let's hop into those things now. Continuing to move along in this session. At this point, we're playing three-handed. Not great. A lot has changed. Like 4 people have left since the last hand. That's how slow the game's been. Things have been really rough for us. Not a lot going on. Rough in a sense of like we just haven't been able to get anything going, but we're not really losing any pots. I raised $220 from the button with queen and jack of spades. Ethan calls, and we're going off to a flop that comes king jack 4 with 2 spades and a heart. Pretty solid here. We flop middle pair and a flush draw with the action checked over to me. I decided to c-bet here for a small sizing of 110. We have this board fairly locked up here, and although there is an overcard to our middle pair, rightly so, I feel like betting here for value as well as equity now, as well as a simple opportunity we can get called by worse, is a good idea. So Ethan calls, and we're going off to a turn card that comes the 6 of diamonds. This is pretty much the absolute bricky of all brickster brick cards. And with the action checked over to me, I actually feel like I can go for some thin value here. I decided to bet $260, targeting some inferior jacks, as there are quite a few of them. Jack 10, Jack 9, whatever random jack Ethan can have here from the big blind. Seems like he's going to have to continue at least one more bet with. After a little bit of thinking, he ends up throwing the hand away. He would tell me that he did have a pair, so unfortunately not, to get any more value, but maybe we got a little, maybe it was positive run good. Maybe he was going to get, I don't know, some kind of a set or the best hand by the river. Feels like we did the right thing by betting there. Like I said, he thought about it, so obviously there was a chance, but either way, we'll continue on with the session. In this following hand, we're again playing three-handed. Ethan decides to limp the small blind. We look down at a suited ace here, ace-8 of diamonds. I end up making it $120 to go. Ethan decides to make the back raise here, was not expecting that, to $500. Well, considering the merit of my hands alone are strong enough to constitute a call here, I make the call. I'm never folding. One off to a flop that comes 6-5-4 rainbow. Not a board that's good for a back raiser, I think. So when he decides to c-bet here for 360, I feel like calling here it's pretty mandatory. We do flop ourselves a gut shot, which is nice. We have 2 overs. We have a backdoor flush draw. A ton of opportunities for a hand to already be good. I make the call. We're going off to a turn card that comes a deuce of diamonds. So at this point, we now officially pick up a flush draw. That's outstanding to go along with our gutter ball. I'm going to go ahead when the action's checked over to me to apply maximum pressure. I feel like we can get better ace highs to fold, obviously, like 100% of the time. And moreover, we can get some value from some insignificant flush draw holdings as well. If he happens to have like 9-7, 10-7 suited, those kind of holdings that have a straight draw and open ender, at least if he decides to check those and not play them aggressively. Either way, I bet 1K and he pretty quickly makes the fold. Seems like more than likely we had the best hand anyways, but I guess it's okay to bliff. You guys like that there? Seems like it's okay to throw in a little bliff now and then, even if we're bluffing or bliffing with the best hand. Either way, happy nonetheless. I'm going to go ahead and take this pot down. Not a lot of big ones really in this session. Not a lot of small ones, just in the middle ones. And luckily for us, we've been down swinging and up swinging just somewhere around a down 2K or up a little bit. So hopefully we can finish off the session on the right foot. As things are winding down, the session has come to this. We find ourselves in a very interesting situation where we're playing three-handed at this point. Not great, but at least we're playing and still battling, trying to put out some good content for y'all. Ethan is not going to be not willing to step up to bat, as you guys know. He's going to be here and he's going to want to battle. Luckily for me, I find myself on the button with the beautiful ace-king. I'm making $120 to go. The small blind makes the fold, and now it's on Ethan. He decides to 3-bet here for $500. A pretty big sizing here. I think it's pretty solid. Obviously, he needs to, as we always talk about it, make it larger when you're out of position. And in this case, it works against him as we do have a really big hand. We have big slick. I'm never going to be doing anything besides, making the 4-bet here. Maybe sometimes we can mix in some just calls as I am in position, which is the one saving grace. But in this case, against Ethan, against my adversary, I don't think he's going to be 3-betting with just aces or kings. So I feel like it'd be a good idea to throw in the old 4-bet. I decided to 4-bet to a very comfortable sizing of $1,250. I don't need to go as big as 3x. I feel like that'd be way too large for a lot of different reasons. And even so, I think this might be a little bit too large. Maybe 1125, 1150 might be a little better. Anyways, with the action back on him, he pretty much quickly folds. He would later tell me that he had a wheel ace, so pretty solid 3-bet by him, and a pretty mandatory just fold by him. So all along, I'm very excited to tell you guys the totals after the session, because you guys wouldn't believe me if I didn't have it on my poker tracking app. But another very interesting session, a lot of really random play, I guess. Maybe boredom got the best of me. It was my birthday. It was also 4 in the morning, so either way, we're happy with the outcome in a lot of different ways. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It's an absolute pleasure putting these videos together. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for constantly supporting, and moreover, the unbelievable support we've got over the last several videos has been pretty remarkable. Anyways, if you guys haven't already, please make sure to click the subscribe button, as we are nearing 20,000 beautiful subscribers. Either way, the sort of me in person. Let's see how the hell we feel after today's session. As you guys could see there, we were into a very fun game. The swings were equivalent to 2,000 at most. We were playing a big game, but we couldn't get much going. We were into that game for 10,000. You wouldn't believe me if I told you we were out of the game for exactly $10,000. So not a big win, not a big loss, nothing really. It was just a big old zero. The birthday run did not come to us. We didn't really get involved in too many crazy hands, even with how insane the game was. It was fun to see Ethan. Obviously, I don't want to ruin it, and I don't want to give you guys his stats, but I promise you guys, whenever that video ends up going out, it's going to be 15 times more amazing than this video. Happy, healthy, and more importantly, guys, run good at the tables. Deuces.